Peasant Productions presents the math of ESP, why it works even if you don't believe in it. I'm trying to get a couple of things together here and put it into one idea here. Flat Earth people. Okay, climate change and flat Earth people are both basically people who deny reality, deny the existence of reality, and they refuse to absolutely look at any evidence put in front of them. Okay, the rain does not fall at exactly the same time in the same amounts every day. Therefore, climate change is very real. It's always changing. It's always doing something different. If you go in and you cut a forest down, the climate changes. The environment changes. Everything going on changes. If you pump lots of acidic SO2 into the air, then yes, you will create acid rain. You will kill forests. You will kill plant life. You will cause mutations in plant life and stuff. Okay? So climate change does happen. Anybody that says it does not obviously lives inside of a closet because they don't have their brains opened up enough to walk outside and see that one day it's summer and a few months later it's fall and then it's winter and then it's spring. Climate changes. Environments change. It may be cyclonic over a period of 2 or 3 years, 10 years, hundreds of years, thousands of years, millions of years. But it is always changing. The other side of that coin is just as equally a stupid type of people are flat Earth people. They somehow theorize that the Earth is flat because, here's their flat Earth. I'm going to pull this up in a minute and destroy their myth. This is a ball. Okay? It's a round object. It's in my hand. I know it's a round object. You are watching on a video, folks. That's a two-dimensional object. Therefore, you cannot prove that what I have in my hand is a round object. Okay? You can say it is. You can jump up and down and bounce around and throw beautiful women in front of the video and all that kind of stuff. You can offer people lots of money. You can do anything you want. You can be a preacher. Praise the Lord! By golly gimbals! I got a Bible in my hand. I'm going to save the world. The Bible, it started the Flat Earth Society because it was protecting its desire to conquer the planet. If you look at where things have gone, okay, remember, for me, the Bible, you know, the four churches of the Bible, Jews, Christians, Catholics, Muslims. The Muslims, okay, approximately year 0, okay, between, you know, AD and BC. The Muslims went east and south. The Jews kind of sat around and watched over everything. And I hate to say it, Rothschilds kind of owns everything, and Rothschilds is a Jewish bank. The Christians and Catholics went north and they went west. They went up into Europe, and then from Europe they went across the oceans into Latin America. Why is it called Latin America? Because the Roman Empire claimed it as their property. They killed anybody that didn't allow them to say that, and they still to this day try and do that. The whore of Babylon is, of course, the United States, the country in power that has been running around murdering everybody everywhere for its right to control everything and everybody, for its support of, if you look at the reality of the support of the 0.001% elite rich. Okay. Now, first off, this is a three-dimensional object here. Okay. This is a piece of paper. It's got this width. It's got that width. Okay. That's 2 dimensions, and you can see it there in front of me. If I hold it up like this, you can kind of see there's a thickness to this. Okay. If you look at this under a microscope, you would see that this writing here is on top of this paper as well as in the paper itself. Okay, so it is 3-dimensional, but we can only prove 2 dimensions on a video. Okay, and that is the problem that you have with a 3-dimensional object. A photograph, no matter what, is a 2-dimensional representation of a 3-dimensional object. So all flat Earth people, go photograph a ball. Go photograph a book. Go photograph your cup of coffee and prove it's a three-dimensional object with that photograph. Do not sit there and say, oh, we all know it's a cup of coffee, man. It's a cup. It's three-dimensionals. No, 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 no. Prove that it is a three-dimensional object with that cup. That photograph of that cup. Not the cup itself, the photograph. Okay? You can't do it. That is how illogical you are in claiming that you must have a three-dimensional photograph prove that it's a three-dimensional object. Yeah, you are that literally ignorant. You are literally that stupid that you will argue that these two objects in a photograph are three-dimensional, and you know it because you've had a ball in your hand and you've had a cup of coffee in your hand before, or a cup of tea or a cup of soda or whatever. But because you've never held the earth in your hands, it can't be three-dimensional. Okay? So that easy, you have destroyed the entire myth of a flat earth. Okay, next thing, all right? Flat earth, okay? You got an ice wall here, you got an ice wall here. They never explain what's here and here. 1969, I was below the equator, okay? I was an 11-year-old kid. There's a thing called the Coriolis effect. I think that's the correct way of saying that word. Okay, it is the spin of water going down a drain. It is also the spin of a cyclone, a hurricane, a typhoon. Also, it's the spin of your tornadoes. In the northern hemisphere, it spins one way. In the southern hemisphere, it spins the other way. Flat Earth, people, kindly get in a car, walk across across the equator, get in an airplane, fly across the equator, whatever you got to do. Cross the equator. And for your own self, just like I did as a little 11-year-old kid in 1969, fill a sink full of water. Let it become perfectly still and then pull the plug and watch the water turn the opposite direction that it did. Whether you go from south hemisphere to north hemisphere to south hemisphere, it doesn't make any difference. It's going to change directions. It is not as one person tried to say, oh, the water's going the way you spun it or you poured it down. No, 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 no. I filled the sink full of water, I let it become standing still, and I pulled the drain because I wanted to see that effect. I was studying weather. I was learning to become a solo, single-handed sailor sailing around the world. So yeah, I needed to know things like that. I needed to know the fast instant fact that I could verify that I had crossed the equator by the Coriolis effect, by watching the direction storms built and changed. Okay. Now, also, you have this ice wall here and this ice wall here. Who knows what's here and here? You never explain that. It just ends, and somehow the oceans don't fall off. If this is ice and this is ice, these are cold, and the center area that's the equator on a sphere, we know it's closer to the sun. It gets more it gets more sunlight than the North and South Pole do, because they're actually up on the tops of that sphere. They don't get it. It's a glancing light. But this area is actually warmer on a sphere for that reason. On the flat Earth, it's negligible, the amount of energy that's being here and here. So your ice walls can't exist, and they definitely will melt and dissolve within a matter of a short period of time. Again, you can get in a boat and go sail to the North or South Pole and find that your ice walls don't exist. But of course, that would be logical. That would be actual scientific investigation. It's much easier to go listen to somebody rant and rave like a preacher with a Bible. Oh, it's an ice wall. You can't go near it. Ha! I have a family member that went to Antarctica. I was the one who edited his thousands of photographs. I went through his thousands of photographs. There was no ice wall. There was no evidence of an ice wall. There was no evidence of military presence all over the place preventing him from seeing anything. Yeah, there was plenty of reason he didn't get to go all the way to the South Pole. He was on a tour ship and going through the tour stuff and things like that. But the absolutes of what was there was very real. I've been all the way up and inside the Arctic Circle. I know what that's like too. I know the change in the time pattern and the difference in the daylight because of that. I've taken photographs of it. I've taken star shots of it. I've done all kinds of stuff like that. Of my own physical being, folks. I'm not talking about hearing some Joe Schmo over there. I'm talking about me really doing it. And all of you have exactly the same ability to go out and try stuff, okay? So that ice wall can't exist for that. And you cannot have, let me watch my time here, make sure I'm not running out. You cannot have a cyclone, hurricane start in South America, go up across, hit Japan, Philippines, Japan, Alaska, down into North America, across into Europe, and finally end up over in Russia, which is back over here in Japan. Okay? Because this jet stream here is going to, let me turn my finger this way, is going to rotate this way. It's going to come cold air down across the ocean. It's going to warm up and come back and cycle back up. So you will not have any ability for any kind of weather pattern to travel all the way across this planet, ever. It is a physical impossibility. Okay? Next thing, I am a photographer, professional. 55 years of shooting with cameras, anywhere from over 100 years old to the modern digital stuff. I've gone out with $5,000 worth of equipment, taken my own photographs of what's called star trails. Now, a star trail, in the old days, yes, when we had film, you had to just leave the camera open, and the theoretical bent lens could almost apply, except that as photographers go and pick our lenses because they're not bent, they're not warped, or we're doing something, in the creative art department that does use some kind of a bending of the lens and image type stuff. But star trails nowadays with digital cameras, and again, anybody can buy a camera and go out and do this, okay? It doesn't take a whole lot of special equipment, but if you got really nice equipment, professional equipment like I have, yeah, you're definitely going to get better stuff, okay? But you point your camera due west or due east, okay? And what will happen is you'll have a curve going this way on the north, okay? This is due east. This is going to curve this way on the north. This is going to curve this way on the south. Now, star trails with digital cameras, because you don't want to heat that sensor up really hot, is usually anywhere from 50 to about 300 frames, and you stack them down. So you have little pieces of pictures going around in circles and curves. Okay? So there is no bent lens even available to the flat earth person to comment about. They are denying how the process of the film, the process of that frame is created. Okay? They are literally turning themselves off up here and denying the existence of facts. Okay? Now, flat earth people will tell you, oh, it's a platter like a record player turning overhead. If that were the case, folks, what's happening? If this is a platter of stars overhead, yeah, they're all going the same direction. So this would be turning this way, this would be turning this way, and this would be also turning this way. Right? You're not going to have that going that way and that going that way. It can't. They have to turn the same way. Everything has to turn the same way. So you see how easy it is? And by the way, if I'm doing this in North America, and on the same night, 1 million people are doing it around the planet, and they all get the same results, again, your flat earth can't exist. It is that easy to destroy the myth. Okay? So yeah, you're a fraud.